Welcome back to our tutorial series about the level editor for the Riftbreaker. In this episode, we are going to talk about prefabs. Using prefabs allows you to quickly fill up your level with props while keeping a high level of randomization. In our case, a prefab is a special handcrafted scene that is filled with various props by a designer. Their purpose is to fill the blank spaces of the map that you leave and mark to be masked by a prefab. In other words, prefabs lie underneath the regular tiles and pop up wherever there is a window left for them to do so, filling the area with props in a randomized way without the need for any additional human input. You can choose which of the pre-made prefab scenes you can use on your map. Each prefab has its own mask, and you decide where you would like to use it. Props from the predefined scene will then fill the masked area. When the map is being generated, the positioning and orientation of the prefabs are chosen at random. Then, several copies of the prefab scenes are stitched together to lie underneath the entire area of the game world. This way, we can be sure that regardless of the area designated by you, the prefab mask will be able to fill the area marked by you with props. Slight differences in positioning, orientation, and prefab choice can drastically change the feeling of the tile. To start working with prefabs, select the Prefabs tool from the left-hand side menu. Using prefabs is very similar to using texture masks, which we covered in episode 2 of our series. The biome which you selected will affect which prefabs you are going to see in the menu. The prefabs are named and divided by their category. Blocking prefabs contain props that might block the navigation of units. The non-blocking prefabs contain only props that do not block the navigation of ground units, and you can safely place them anywhere on your level. You can use liquid prefabs to touch up the area around liquid pools. Once you've selected the prefab type that you want to use, the mouse cursor will turn into a brush. Click and drag on any area on the map to mark it for prefab use. You will see that the level editor will automatically populate the area with various props. You might have noticed that there is a number in square brackets next to each of the prefabs names. That number indicates how many variants of prefabs of that type are available for the level editor. What this means for you is that there are several separate scenes with various props that the game will be able to use on your map. You can check out how different types of prefabs look on your level by clicking the Refresh Prefab button at the top of the screen. Only one prefab can affect any given area at one time. For example, if you paint an area to be used by the blocking field's moderate prefab and then paint over it with the non-blocking forest dense one, the non-blocking forest dense will override the mask that blocking field moderate would use. Even though it might be pretty tempting to paint over the entire area of the map with some of the prefabs, there are several rules you should remember. First of all, don't use blocking prefabs at points where there are player spawns or enemy spawns. If you do so, the randomization might cause the player or the enemies to spawn inside a prop that blocks navigation, rendering them unable to move. The second important thing is to leave the area open for random resources. Regardless of whether you are using a blocking or non-blocking prefab, you don't want your resources to be covered by any props. And the last thing is, leave some area open for the player to use for building up their base. You can check out what the individual tiles of prefabs look like if you right-click any of them and select the Edit option. Then, the level editor will show you what the entirety of the prefab is. You will be able to check out all the variants of the prefabs created by our designers. You can also edit and create your own prefabs to use in any of the biomes that you select. Using prefabs saves you a lot of work when it comes to filling the level with props. It also adds another layer of randomization to your maps. We hope you will find this feature highly useful. In the next episode, we are going to talk about the display floater and some advanced options that will help you navigate your own maps. See you then!